Hi, everyone. I'm Matt Ricker,
And I'm Catherine White, Executive Director of the New Rochelle Chamber of Commerce.
and we're here with the brand new podcast, Chamber Chat. All right, so joining us now is Alexa Kazim, owner and founder of Altelier 616 Interiors, located right here in New Rochelle. And so, Alexa, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me. It's so nice to be here.
Yeah,
We're glad to have you here.
Yeah, and you are one of our newer chamber members, so thank you for joining. So first off, tell us about your business and how you started it and a little bit of history behind it.
Sure. So I own a full-service interior design business. I service both residential and commercial clients.
Great.
And I have always loved design. Since I was a child, I had, I loved color. I had an opinion about what things went into my room and how the furniture was laid out. And then I went beyond my room and I was like, Mom and Dad, what if we put wallpaper here? And I sort of like weekend warriored my parents into like doing these projects with me, and they were very nurturing and supportive of them. And so I saw the joy and the unity it brought for our family, not just doing the projects, but also like being in a space that spoke to us, that helped us thrive and come together, gather. And so it's just something that I wanted to bring to others. And I feel like there is no greater joy than when you see a client's smile and their joy and face when they have a completed project in front of them. As much as I love doing the projects, when I see the creativity of it, the selection of products, the managing it and making sure it happens on time and on budget, but when you see that client's face, it's like electric, how it's almost like contagious. You just are ready to jump up and down with joy.
Yeah, it must be like a sigh of relief, because I know I've used professionals in the past to help me design things, and they're very much rooted in like the early 80s, 90s, because it's done and I'm never going to change it. But I was so happy to just, the relief I felt when it was done. You must experience that all the time from clients.
Yes. So I am a full service firm, but I also do smaller projects. So by full service, I've had clients, for example, in this kitchen, who handed me their keys, went off to Italy for 2.5 weeks, and said, okay, when we come back, our kitchen will be done, right? And I was like, okay, yes, it will.
Wow.
And so it involved, before they left, of course, meeting with them,
Right.
understanding their needs, showing them materials that I had selected that I knew would be value-oriented, but as well as functioning super well based on the fact that I know that they cook. So what are the materials that are going to make sense? What's going to look good? And understanding like simple things like they wanted a spot in the kitchen where a kid could do homework if they needed to, or like you could be cooking something and the kid could be near you doing homework. And so listening to those things and understanding like how to develop a plan and a concept that is responsive to them was super important.
Wow, that's great. So like colorways and things like that, you ran all that by them, and then you showed them what was best.
I give always choices. So my job is, there are 10,000 paint colors. Let me make your life simple. Do you like this? Do you like this? Tell me what you really
nice.
don't like. And so when you offer people, okay, these are the materials that I think would be best for your countertop, because you're a person who wants to take a hot pan out of the oven and lay it right down on the counter.
Without ruining something.
Exactly. So that material has to be able to perform. And again, it's not just about performance, it's about aesthetics, and it's also about price point.
So, like, at least for me, walking into a Home Depot or a Sherwin-Williams, where
Right.
there's literally hundreds of colors to choose from, and like, I'm sure hundreds of types of countertops and cabinets and
Right.
faucets, and the list is just endless. Backsplashes. If you're just like walking in and you have no idea what you want, how do you walk a customer through that?
So it basically can eliminate the process of going to Home Depot altogether.
Nice.
I have trade-only resources, so it opens up a whole universe of product. But I've also had clients, for example, on the commercial side, that say, we're closing down our swimming pool deck for 3 weeks, and in 3 weeks we need to get this done. So it has to be a material that's immediately available. And sometimes you have a long lead time, and so you can work with existing vendors that I know, like, they're going to produce product and they're going to turn it around timely. But sometimes with a commercial organization, I don't always have the benefit of lead time, and so we do have to rely on big box stores to get the material quickly for us. And in that case, I just bring them, like, it's either this or this, and I produce an entire board that shows them the concept of what it's going to look like. These are your paint colors, these are your materials, this is the layout, because space planning is super important. And it's actually more important in small spaces. Sometimes people are like, oh, it's a small space, it's not a lot to think about. But in small spaces, you want to maximize every square inch.
Exactly.
Right.
So that footprint goes from feeling like 300 square feet to doing all these sort of tricks of the trade to get it to feel as spacious as possible.
So speaking of smaller spaces, that leads us to apartments. And you told me you've been doing a lot of work in even rental apartments.
Yes.
In New Rochelle, we've got so many new developments and so many new people coming in. There must be a market for that. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yes, super exciting. So New Rochelle is having a renaissance.
We are.
And I think that is exciting for the community, but also just a new way for people who typically think of only the city or, limit themselves.
Right.
And it's like you have all the benefits of Westchester, and they are many, but you also have quick access into Manhattan at
Right.
prices that are so much more manageable. And so oftentimes I've gotten a call from someone who is doing a rental, and they say, I'm doing a rental, so I guess I need help with furniture, but there's not a lot that we can do.
Because everything's white and boring.
Exactly.
And prefab.
I have a white box. And I said, well, one of the things a benefit of hiring an interior designer is that you're going to get value. You're going to get information. You're going to get educated about choices. And so one of the things that I educated this particular client who called me from 333 Huguenot is about a program that Benjamin Moore was offering. They were offering a program where if you lived in a rental, they would provide you the white paint. So you purchase the paint that you'd like to paint your apartment so that it feels like it's yours, so that
Right.
it's customized. And then when you're done with your rental, they would provide the white paint to just make sure
Page
it
it
all
back.
goes back to the white plain box that you
No.
started
Oh, that's
with.
amazing.
That's genius.
So that allowed us to be very creative and also to explore the opportunities, because with these buildings you have light exposures and you
Right.
have environments that you have the opportunity to really create beautiful spaces and amplify all of that light, but also bring the outside in a lot more. When you just have a white wall, it's like the stark view outside and then you inside. But with the colors in this soothing color palette, as you can see, and the layout, as well as some creative things. Like here we did a custom media console, which you can see on my website and also on my Instagram, Atelier 616 Interiors, and the website is atelier616.com. You can see that we made a custom console so that way people could enjoy these residents can enjoy their view, and when they're ready to watch TV, they hit a remote and up comes the television.
Wow.
Voila!
Wow,
That's really
great.
fancy.
Yes, and so this we were particularly proud of also because the apartment can sometimes feel boxy, right? It's
Right.
just like it feels like a white box. And so I said to the homeowners, if you're amenable, we need to soften all of these sharp corners by adding a lot of curves. And there are columns within those buildings,
Right.
and within those apartments that can be used to accentuate the curves and break away from that boxy feel. So you'll notice we used curved shapes, curved sofas, curved pieces to really create an environment that felt to the homeowners like them. It's their style, but it's softened and it's custom to their needs. And that's part of the joy of creating spaces and then collaborating with clients, because I have my own style, but that style belongs in my home. It doesn't belong in each client's home. Each client really needs a plan based on their lifestyle, based on their budget, and based on their needs.
So moving away from apartment buildings just for a second.
Sure.
If someone has a home and they want to do all this work, put in a new kitchen and all that stuff, does your business take care of the permitting? Because every city and municipality
Right.
is different. New Rochelle may differ from Eastchester. So do you guys take care of that?
So each project is different. If I'm working on a project, let's say, and it's a building, and they have even if it's not an onerous, if it's an easy alterations packet, lots of times clients will prefer that we handle the alterations packet because we know the exact scope of work, we know what we're intending to do, we can get all the insurance paperwork for them, and so they'll opt to do that. In municipalities and towns, oftentimes it's the contractor that does that element. And so I have a network of contractors that I can offer my clients and say, you can use them. The contract is between you and them. I'm not involved. It's just another referral of someone that I've an established relationship and I've worked with. So just whether it's someone that I need to source lamps with, or this cabinet maker. I have a network that I've established in over 14 years in business, and so I call upon those people and plug them in depending on what the client's needs are.
Yeah. Okay.
Oh, that's something we didn't touch on. So you've been in business for 14 years now?
Yes. I came to this as a second career. As I said, I had this passion for design since I was a young child, but I also loved running things, and being an administrator really fed that need to run things. And so my master's in administration, and for over almost 13 years I was a hospital administrator. But those skills that I built in the hospital and healthcare, in terms of running teams, collaborating, supervising staff, projects, making sure things happen timely, applying for grants, really building and creating teams that could produce and perform at their best level, are skills that I use every day now. And one of the things that really brought about the design bug was when I was in healthcare, I was responsible for getting a grant and then working on the renovation of several wings of our facilities.
Oh, wow.
And during those renovations, I realized I was, if one could be even happier in doing the work that I was doing in healthcare, it was with doing the design and the layouts, because those are things that we really couldn't hire people to do, so we had
So
to
they were
rely.
really lucky that they had an administrator that also had an eye and the ability to.
Right. And so then I decided to professionalize that skill set even more, and that's when I did a 2-year interior design program.
Wow.
That's great.
That's great.
Thank
Definitely.
you. Yeah, it's been a wonderful experience. I really feel
Yeah.
so grateful and fortunate to be invited into people's homes and businesses, because it's a lot of trust that people are placing with you, and it's an honor to be invited into a business, into a commercial entity, and say, help us develop this space so that our end users, our customers are served better, our patients are served better, or our homeowners are served better. And I really take that very seriously, which is why I prioritize customer service. And I've had these relationships. Some clients I've done not only their entire home, but multiple homes.
Right.
Some clients have referred me to their kids who don't even live within the state, and I end up doing
Virtual as it were?
consultations.
Oh,
Yes,
that's
I've
amazing.
had several of those virtual consultations. The adult child lives in California or Chicago, and they say, we love what you did with our parents' house, and our parents are raving about you. We'd love the opportunity to work together. And it can be a lot of fun. Honestly, the relationships that you create with people are long lasting, and sometimes at the end people are like, oh no, this is the end of the project, can we be friends? I'm like, yes, we can.
That's great. That's
Yeah.
so good. So if there's one thing you want people to know about you and your business, what would that be?
I think the benefits of hiring interior designer. I think sometimes interior design can feel to people, oh, that's not for me, that's for somebody else. And I don't know who that someone else that is that they imagine. But because I take on small projects as well as large ones, I think it's so important for people to understand that, yes, anybody is a potential client for an interior designer. If you need help, whether it's I want new drapes and I want to make sure I do the right thing rather than, spend a lot of money and then feel unhappy with the things I've done, then that's the person to call an interior designer. So many of my calls, unfortunately, are after mistakes have been made
Ooh.
instead of calls that could have been made in advance, and then time, resources, and energy and money wouldn't have been spent, and you would have done it right
The first time.
So it's something that I wish people would try and could understand a little bit more, because sometimes something that's not familiar feels a little bit like, ooh, I'm a little bit intimidated about doing that. But it really, I think depending, as long as you have a good relationship with your designer, and as long as your designer and you are aligned, like for me, it's really important to respect the provenance of a house, to, the history, the architecture, what's the time period that this house was put up, and let's have a nod to those things, respect those things. And so we use principles of design that amplify the fact that this is a 1920s building. And I think that when you do that, people end up so much happier with the end result,
Right.
because it does really respect the provenance of the space.
So basically the message is interior design is for everyone.
So that the tagline, my very first tagline for my business was intelligent, inspiring, and attainable interior design.
Exactly. That's perfect.
That's
Perfectly
great.
great. So attainability at Atelier 616 Interiors.
Thank you so much. It was so nice to be here.
Yeah.